Good morning, everybody. So today we are going to start about the second part of the endocrine gland. So we will be discussing about the adrenal gland, okay, the pancreas and thymus, okay, in today's session. The adrenal gland, it is also called as the suprarenal gland. Okay, why it is called suprarenal? Supra above and renal is above the kidneys. So that's why this is called as suprarenal gland. Okay, it is located on the upper pole of each kidney and is enclosed by the renal fascia. Renal fascia is a fascia which covers the kidney. So here you can see the yellow colored structure which is the adrenal gland. Okay, adrenal gland or suprarenal gland. It has got an outer part which is called as cortex and an inner part which is called as medulla. Okay, outer cortex and inner medulla. The arteries which supply the adrenal gland come from abdominal aorta and renal arteries. Okay, so here you can see suprarenal arteries. Okay, so they are called as suprarenal arteries or adrenal arteries. They are mainly arising from the aorta as well as from the renal arteries. Okay, so as well as from the renal arteries. Similarly, the veins, they are called as suprarenal veins. Okay, though the right and left suprarenal vein, the right suprarenal vein goes to inferior vena cava, whereas the left suprarenal vein, it goes into the renal vein. Okay, the left renal vein, just similar to that of testicular vein, ovarian veins, we have seen it, right? So similarly, the right suprarenal vein goes into the inferior vena cava, whereas the left renal vein goes, the left suprarenal vein goes into the left renal vein. Okay, so here you can see the left suprarenal vein, it is draining into the left-sided renal vein. Okay, and here you can see the right suprarenal vein which goes and drains into the inferior vena cava. All right, now the relations, just like what we have seen the relation of the other endocrine glands. So here we will be seeing the relations of the adrenal gland. Okay, I have not included the name in this slide, okay, because I would like to you to interpret. Okay, say here this is the kidneys, the gray colored structure, and this black colored structure just above the kidneys is the right suprarenal gland, and here you can see the left kidney and the left suprarenal gland. Now what are the structures? What is this dotted line? The dotted line is the liver. Okay, so it's the liver. Okay, so the liver. So the kidneys, you know that it is situated near the posterior abdominal wall. Okay, so anterior to the adrenal gland, there is liver. Okay, and here you can see the outline of the stomach. Okay, the outline of the stomach. Then after the stomach comes the duodenum. Okay, so duodenum. So what are the anterior structures? Liver and duodenum. Okay, for the right adrenal gland. For the left adrenal gland, what is situated in front? Here you can see a gland which is lined in front. So this is the pancreas. So anterior to the left adrenal gland, it is the pancreas. Okay, the pancreas is situated right in front of the left adrenal gland. Okay, so those are the anterior relations of the adrenal gland. Okay, when you take the histology, okay, so the layers, as I said before, the outer layer is called as cortex and the inner layer is called as medulla. The cortex is made up of three layers. Okay, glomerulosa, zona fasciculata, and reticularis. You can remember as GFR. Glomerulosa, fasciculata, and reticularis. Okay, glomerulosa zone, fasciculata zone, and reticularis zone. So another name for zone is zona. Okay, the Latin name. The adrenal medulla, it is made up mainly of chromaffin cells. In this picture, you can see the entire adrenal gland. Okay, so here you can see the covering of the adrenal gland, the glomerulosa, fasciculata, reticularis, and this is the adrenal medulla. All right. So this is regarding the adrenal gland. So adrenal gland is also called a suprarenal gland, and it's enclosed by the renal fascia. It has got an outer part which is called as cortex and an inner part which is called as medulla. Okay, the arteries supplying the venous drainage or suprarenal arteries and veins. The suprarenal arteries arise from the abdominal aorta, okay, as well as from the renal arteries. The venous drainage, there is right and left renal vein. The right renal vein, the right suprarenal vein drains into the inferior vena cava, whereas the left suprarenal vein drains into left renal vein. Okay, and here you can see the picture of the adrenal gland. Another point which you need to notice the shape of the right adrenal gland and the left adrenal gland. The right adrenal gland is more like a pyramidal shape, whereas the left adrenal gland is like a semi-lunar shape. Okay, semi means half, lunar is moon. Okay, so it's looking like a half moon shape. Okay, so this is pyramidal shape, this is semi-lunar shape. Okay, so this is the shape of the adrenal gland. The anterior relations of the right kidney, the right suprarenal gland, it is the liver and the duodenum, whereas the anterior relation of the left suprarenal gland, okay, which is indicated by this black color, so is the pancreas. It is made up of two layers, outer cortex and inner medulla. The cortex can be further divided into three layers: glomerulosa, fasciculata, and reticularis. Okay, so in this picture, you are able to see all the layers from outside to inside. So the outermost layer is glomerulosa, then comes fasciculata, then reticularis, and then medulla. Any doubts? Okay, the next one, the pancreas. Okay, we have seen about the pancreas in the gastrointestinal system as well. So here we will be covering about the endocrine part of the pancreas. Okay, the pancreas has both exocrine and endocrine. The endocrine part of the pancreas, okay, it is present within the pancreas in islands. So this is called islets of Langerhans. Okay, so islets of Langerhans. Okay, so they are situated throughout the pancreas. Okay, and the secretions from these islet cells, they go directly into the bloodstream. So what are the different cells present inside these islets of Langerhans? There are alpha cells, beta cells, delta cells. Alpha cells are the ones which secrete glucagon. The beta cells are the ones which secrete insulin, and the delta cells secrete somatostatin. Okay, the beta cells secrete insulin. So what happens when the beta cells are destroyed? The insulin comes down.
Diabetes.
Yes, very good. Okay, so they lead on to diabetes. Okay, so they lead into the diabetes. Okay, so these are the different cell types which are located within the pancreas. So here you can see the pancreas, okay, which is situated along the C-shaped part of the duodenum. Okay, here you can see the green colored structure which is indicating the exocrine pancreas, the pancreatic duct which joins with the common bile duct, okay, and opens through the duodenal papilla. Okay, so that's the exocrine part. Now here we are concentrating the endocrine part. The endocrine part are these purple colored dots. Okay, they look like eye lines inside the pancreas. So these are called as islets of Langerhans. Okay, islets of Langerhans. So these are the ones which contain alpha, beta, and delta cells, and they are the ones which secrete insulin. Okay, so the secretion from these go directly into the bloodstream. Okay, they enter directly into the bloodstream. Okay, so this is another picture showing the histological features of pancreas. Okay, so it is darkly stained. So this is the other part of the pancreas, that is the exocrine pancreas, and this is a lightly stained structure. Okay, this lightly stained structure is the islets of Langerhans. Okay, and there is also the presence of centroacinar cells. So this is exclusive of pancreas. Okay, so inside the pancreas there might be a cell in the center. Okay, there will be a cell in the center. Okay, so that is called as centroacinar cells. So the centroacinar cells are a classical feature seen in pancreas. Okay, so islets of Langerhans and the darkly stained serous part. Okay, which is the exocrine pancreas. Okay, so pancreas containing mainly the islets of Langerhans, comprising of alpha, beta, and delta cells. Okay, secreting glucagon, insulin, and somatostatin respectively. So when beta cells are destroyed, they lead on to diabetes. Okay, and here you can see the pancreatic duct. Okay, and the islets of Langerhans. So the islets of Langerhans, they secrete the secretions, the hormones directly into the bloodstream. Okay, thereby controlling the blood sugar. Okay, and here you can see the darkly stained structure, serous acini, and the lightly stained, the islets of Langerhans. Okay, and the centroacinar cells, which are exclusively present in pancreas. Any doubts? All right, the next one, the thymus. The thymus, it is a structure which is located below the thyroid gland. So here you can see the thyroid gland. Below the thyroid gland, there is a gland which is called as thymus. Okay, so this part is called the mediastinum. Okay, in the center part behind the sternum. Okay, so this gland is located. Okay, so this is located in the upper mediastinum, just behind the sternum. What happens to this gland? This gland is functional, and they will be secreting certain hormones called as thymosin, which is necessary for the T cells to form. Okay, T lymphocytes. The T cells are very important in preventing infections. So you know that as children, they are exposed. Initially, when they are inside the mother, they are safe. Okay, inside the uterus, they are safe. But once the baby is born, it's been exposed to a large number of bacteria, viruses. Okay, so it needs to protect itself. So then will start producing the T cells, okay, which are also called like the fighter cells. Okay, they fight against the infections. So which hormone is this? T cells, they come from thymus. Okay, and there is a hormone which is secreted from the thymus, which is called as the thymosin, and this helps in preventing the infections or fighting against the infections. Okay, so this thymus, another property is this thymus is present in children. Okay, but what happens as the child grows? Okay, until 12 to 13 years, it might be found. What happens after 12 to 13 years? Because they get accustomed. They know like what are the viruses, the bacteria. Okay, and the body recognizes. Okay, so there are so many bacteria, and they know how to defend them. So what happens after this? The purpose is not needed. So they become atrophy. Okay, atrophy. Okay, so they disappear. So after 12 or 13 years, they start disappearing slowly. And in adults, there is no thymus. Okay, so until 12 to 13 years, okay, or probably until 14 years, okay, maximum. Okay, so this thymus can grow, but after which this thymus disappears. Okay, the thymus disappears. Okay, so when the thymus disappears, okay, the T cells are produced by other organs like spleen. Okay, the spleen, they take up the function of the thymus in producing the T cells. Any doubts?
No, doctor.
All right. So that's it. And regarding the histology of the thymus is made up of epithelial reticular tissue. Okay, and there is certain cells like this. It looks circular, and these are called as Hassel's corpuscles. Okay, Hassel's corpuscle. Okay, so epithelial reticular cells and Hassel's corpuscles. So they are found in the thymus gland. Okay, so the thymus located in the upper mediastinum just behind the sternum. They secrete the hormone thymosin and helps in the production of T cells. Okay, so they grow until puberty, after which it regresses. Okay, histologically, if you see, the thymus is composed of epithelial reticular tissue cells and Hassel's corpuscles. Okay, Hassel's corpuscles. All right.
Doctor,
So
what does atrophy means?
yes, excuse me.
What does atrophy means?
After
Atrophy.
atrophins, can you just type it? I can't hear you clearly. Atrophy. Okay, atrophy means disappear. It start shrinking. The gland starts shrinking. Okay, initially it is big. Okay, so whenever there is infection, it gets big so that it has to produce more number of T cells. But afterwards, the thymus gland, they know that, okay, and they already start producing the antibodies. So what happens? This thymus, they get atrophied. Atrophied means shrinking. All right. Any doubts? Okay.